I love, too, by the way, on this Hunter Biden story, how the guy who owned the repair shop was just turned into this liar for a while.
Oh, yeah.
He
lost his
business.
business.
He lost his business, had to leave the state.
Delaware, by the way.
Right.
The president's state.
Yes. And now it's like, oh, yeah, he was right the whole time. Oh, okay. Oh, let's move on. I guess we just move on.
But it doesn't matter. We just move on. Oh, that guy was destroyed.
Darn it.
This story we shouldn't move on from because the president is compromised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Hunter Biden did was so massive that people wanted to dismiss it, and it was something that you were like, okay, my guy, he wouldn't. I mean, that's outrageous. That would have come out long ago if that were true. No. They're hiding gigantic things out in the open.
Well, the Hunter Biden laptop scandal is continuing to gain momentum after a year and a half of ifs and buts. Blaze TV's Glenn Beck and his panel discussed the latest developments on his podcast and questioned why we as a society, or why the press, decides to move on from something so big. Mr. Beck argues this is not a story we should be moving on from because President Joe Biden is compromised. The panel also spoke about how unfair it was for the repair shop owner, who was accused of being a liar, lost his business and was forced out of his home state over the scandal. The mainstream media has been slammed the last few days after the New York Times last week confirmed emails found on Hunter Biden's discarded laptop were authentic. The president's son's laptop has been a source of speculation since the story was first reported in late 2020. Mere weeks before the 2020 election, the New York Post published an article about a laptop discarded at a computer repair shop in Wilmington, Delaware. On this laptop were emails that seemed to confirm the president's second son was the recipient of gifts from foreign interests in Ukraine and China. The story was a significant development in the lead up to the election, but it was censored by big tech companies.
We should also point out that there was a significant story that broke a week before the election. I mean, this is when they took the story and they took the New York Post, or the nation's oldest newspaper, off of Twitter. They weren't allowed to tweet about it. They weren't allowed to promote the story. It was a week before the election. I think it was Media Research Center that did a poll later on.
16%.
16% of Biden voters said they would reconsider their vote if they knew about the Hunter Biden story at the time. It was a story that absolutely should have been out there and was suppressed.
Yes.
And it was, all of them, misinformation, malinformation. It was all of it at the same time. They demeaned the people who were telling the story. They hid the story from people. It was really bad.
Twitter shut down the New York Post's account for 16 days and locked users who tried to share the newspaper's story. The social media giants said they needed to take such measures in order to have the time to fact-check the story. The media and the intelligence community also dismissed the New York Post laptop story at the time of its publication. According to the New York Times, the US Justice Department is examining whether the 52-year-old violated laws relating to money laundering and foreign lobbying. Fox News' Janine Pirro slammed the left media for overlooking the story.
But the sad part about all this is that the media is so in the tank of the left and the left-wing ideologies that and a crack-addicted porn pig that they are willing to subjugate the truth to support a porn pig and they don't care about Americans. They don't care about any of us. And that these 50 so-called intelligence officers who swore that this was Russian disinformation, and these are liars.